Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Okay, the first setup that we showed you had a fixed weight, meaning that it was a standard barrel swivel with a snap on it, tied so that the lead is on the main line side, okay? You don't want to get that backwards. It'll get all tangled up, so kind of keep that in mind. This is a different setup. It's just a barrel swivel with a bead, and then a snap swivel just slid on the main line so it slides. Kind of an old school idea-ish. That's how I fished when I started growing up back in the whatever that was back then. How do you like to do it? What's your take on that? Do you like lead? Do you like slinkies? Do you like, obviously you like the big ones when you are in heavy water, bouncing betties? I mean, what do you like to throw so that you're feeling everything the right way?
Well, since I started using the stick lead, I stick with those 95% of the time, but I will throw a slinky on there, a Magnum slinky. Like say I'm in a spot bank fishing especially, and the water I want to fish is way upstream. I can cast to it, and it's pretty rough. I want to get down quick, and I know there's big rocks and whatnot. I'll throw a big Magnum slinky on there and wing it up there and whoop, get it down, and I can walk a slinky down, which even that kind of thing, these get down slower than a big Magnum slinky. I always carry a couple of those with me for that situation. And by the way, 99% of the time, I'll fish a fixed lure because I want my stuff to get down right now. When you have a slider on there, especially if you have something like a corky or an okie like this, or a spinning glow even, something that floats, it's not, you're pulling that down, and it's your weight's going down, it's sliding, and now your weight's down here. 5 feet up here is your rig. And as it goes along, it eventually catches up, but if you're fishing a big, long stretch of water, like side drifting, for example, slider is fine.
Which is where that kind of comes into play.
Okay, a long, big, and that way you can feel a bite without the lead, and it's great for that. But for getting it down immediately, you want to use a fixed, definitely use a fixed rig.
So there is a time where one might be more productive than the other. If you were to go, I'm just tying all my gear one way, it's going to be fixed.
Sure. I just, if I happen to be fishing out of a boat and side drifting, I'll go to a smaller
stick weight.
Smaller stick weight, so it doesn't, I'm ticking bottom every 10 feet. I don't need it going down. I just want to go tick. As long as I'm close, I'm basically gliding.
And just keeping it in the zone. Okay, now let's talk technique. What you're feeling. Let's just call this a normal run on a river. You're not casting upriver. You're not, having to, quarter your way around. Just a regular old setup. You're looking at a nice long stretch, flattish. Okay. Where are you making your initial cast, and what are you feeling for? Because this is where a lot of people that start drift fishing, maybe for the first time, there's a lot of you, believe it or not, in 2024. It's definitely not the most popular way to go out, but it can be frustrating if you don't know what you're feeling for. And it's, at least for me, it's hard to explain, but Bill can. So what is it that you're feeling for when you're making that cast, maybe slightly upriver? What are you doing at that point?
Your initial contact with bottom is everything, okay? Normally casting slightly upstream from your position, not straight across or down, just slightly up, so by the time it gets down, it's even with you, it's parallel with you, okay? And you have to be feeling for the bottom. Thank God for braid. Okay, now that we have braid, you got this, you're fishing in high def. You can feel it. When we had mono on there, it was kind of like, am I on the bottom? You really can't tell. And if you have mono and a slinky, you don't know what's going on, okay? With lead gives you that thump, 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 a little bit of a thump. And when you have braid now, that you have braid, even that little mono bumper we put on there, that I put on there, most people do, the instant that thing touches bottom, I can feel it, and I'm picking up all my slack immediately. So I got a 45 degree right now.
Tight line to your weight.
Tight line to the weight, and I'm feeling it all the way through. The beautiful, nice part about a level one, you can leave the bail open, and you can feed it and do an extended drip. You can typically just feel along. When you lose contact with bottom, feed a little bit. Okay, it's back. Stop it again, and you can feel bottom.
So you can extend your drift a little bit more, and yet still feel the lead running along the bottom.
You have don't hammer the deck. You don't have to unless the water's really high and low visibility and you want to fish slow, different deal. But under normal conditions, that 2.5 to 7, 8 feet of visibility, which is perfect, you want to feel bottom every 5 to 10 feet. That's plenty, as long as you're down there.
For somebody that was new to drift fishing, but has already learned the skill of a bait caster, what would you recommend as far as setup goes? And now, let me back that up. Would you want to be good drift fishing with a spinning reel setup, or would you want to get good with a bait cast setup?
Well, it's what you can do. Like way back in the day when I started fishing, I couldn't throw a level wind. I tried a few times and nope. So I used a spinning reel, and it worked just fine. But you're restricting what you can do. You have to pretty much, after you make a cast or two, you have to move. Because if you open the bail up and try to feed it like you're float fishing, what's going to happen?
You're going to get it all up on the bottom and you're done.
Yeah, and then you're retying a lot, and the tackle guys love you.
Yeah, moss knots.
And tying knots all day. When your fingers are cold and wet, thanks for playing. Not going to do it, okay? But yeah, I would recommend learning how to use a level wind if you're going to be a drift fisherman or a lure fisherman. Anytime that sometimes you have using really small pieces of lead, really light line, then you have to use a spinning reel.
Sure, you can't cast it with a, well, that being said, it's easier to make a longer cast with a spinning setup.
Even you and I have been doing this for 100 years and have a talented thumb. Gonna happen. You're gonna try to make, I can get it over there. Dang it!
Did anybody watch that? Nobody saw that?
Yeah, back to the car. I'll be right back. Got to make the walk of shame. Be right back. So yeah, and so if you use light stuff, spinning for anything else, learn how to use a level wind.
You're going to be more effective. And there's a lot of people that I've run into over the years that are like, I have no need to learn how to use a bait caster. Fine.
Okay.
But you're going to, there are going to be situations where, again, for me, I can't drift fish unless it's a bait caster. Okay, that's how I was brought up. It's just the way it is. I can't do it. Unless I'm free drifting in the boat and I'm not making multiple casts. If I'm throwing spinners, I absolutely have to have a bait caster. A spinning rod is a total waste of time, in my opinion. You can do it, but I'm going to come behind you, and I'm going to actually keep that spinner exactly where it needs to be because I'm dumping line. And you just can't do it with a spinning reel the right way.
It's hard.
It's very hard. Now, this rod that I have set up is just loaded with mono. What do you load your bait casters with? You kind of hinted towards it a little bit, but how do you set up your main line?
Well, once you get the feel of braid, you can't go backwards.
No.
The feel is, I talked about fishing in high depth. I'll use in a level one, I'll use 30 to 40 pound. 40 pound if I'm going after trophy fish. I'll go 40 with a 7 or 8 feet of 20 pound maximum bumper. I tie a unit knot to it, seems to work great. Otherwise, a 30 pound test, 30 and 15.
Okay, so you're run 30 pound braid.
30 pound braid.
You need a uni.
Yeah.
Or whatever you like to tie as
you know. I can tie a uni real quick. And that's the one I know. Says the guy who wrote a knot book, but I use one knot.
Okay, I get it.
Right?
But then do a 15 pound bumper.
Yeah, and that way also if I hang up, I can just break off easily. I'm not leaving all this line in the water. If you tie, right to braid, and you can, but now you hung up, and now what do you do? If you can't break, if that goes in between a rock and it pinches and you cannot break off, you're going to ruin your spool. You're going to break guides on the rod. You might break your rod. It's all bad. What's going to happen? So that bumper, it allows a little shock absorber too. You want to fish strikes hard, and it allows you to break off if you throw it in the trees.
Great advice. The reason why this is loaded with mono is because it's my favorite spinner setup. I like throwing in mono with spinners. Man, if I could, I know I'm going to get in trouble. Go ahead.
You want a tip on that spinner?
Sure.
You want to make a number 3 feel like a number 5 blade? Put some braid on there.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
You can, normally when I'm fishing for big silvers in the fall, you throw out, I'm using number 5 Vibrax or whatever, you know, and with braid it's like, whoa, wow, you know. But with mono, you're watching, you're looking, you're feeling, okay, yeah, that's moving, but I can make that blade just go dump, dump, and when it's the slower the thump, bigger the flash. Right? So remember, keep that in mind next time you throw your spinners.
Deadly point that you just made, too, is that you can adjust the speed of that spinner. That's an entire show by itself.
Oh, well, it is.
We need to do that.
I got a whole box of spinners, too, I could bring in.
Ryan, write that down. Next time, maybe for summer steelhead, maybe even for winters, but there is...
How about for springers?
I'm sick of salmon. Let's talk steelhead.
Okay.
We're going to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to get Bill's 3 gift ideas for the angler in your life. And trust me, they're really, really good. I was impressed. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.